Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Classic Gaming Brothers. I'm Seth.
And I'm Zach.
And we are the Classic Gaming Brothers. Two brothers making a podcast.
That's right.
That's right. Same as the last time.
We have not stopped being brothers.
We have not stopped being brothers, nor have we stopped being classy.
That's true. That's true.
I feel like we've accomplished both of these things in the time. I hope everyone had a great holiday season since the holidays are now over.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year 2020 with Classic Gaming Brothers. Did you have a good Christmas and a good New Year?
I did have a good Christmas because I spent it with my brother.
Oh, thank you. Yes, it was a pleasure having you at my house.
Yes.
Did Santa Claus get you any video games?
No.
Since we're a podcast about video games?
No, Santa Claus didn't get me any video games.
No, Santa Claus did get me a video game.
Oh, nice.
In fact, I have it right over here.
Ooh.
It was given to me by my brother, and it is a game called Maya Quest, the Mystery Trail. It's got a bicyclist in a yellow jacket, and it's got social studies written at the top.
Yes.
Get a taste of real adventures on CD-ROM. Yeah. So thanks to my brother for giving me something that I previously owned and forgot about.
Yes, well, as I go through some of my old stuff, expect more gifts of similar natures.
I can't wait. So it's a new year, so we want to this is our 6th episode, which is pretty exciting. Or our 7th, I guess, right? Because we did 5 just came out. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, yes. 5 was Star Wars.
Yes.
So this is 6th, which is also our 7th recording, which is great. We're happy to be here and happy to do the show. We wanted to talk about we did receive some feedback. We received some feedback from some friends of the podcast, and one person, our friend Justin, he sent us an email that we wanted to address, not only in the email that we sent back to him, because that would be rude if we didn't send anything back, but he sent us an email where he purchased a computer, but he bought a computer for not gaming. He bought a computer for work, and so he's looking to try and find games that have lower graphics requirements and stuff like that, so that he can kind of play on his work computer. So that's kind of going to be what we're going to talk about. He also wanted to talk about how to
navigate
Steam sales and what to do for buying games and recommendations and stuff like that along shopping. Yeah. So that's what this episode's going to kind of curtail around. So why don't we get into everything in regards to what have you been playing recently, Zach?
Yeah, so recently I actually, speaking of buying video games and buying things, I picked up a PSVR for the PlayStation 4.
That's fun.
So I ended up, part of my kind of New Year's resolution was to go through some of my older collection of stuff and kind of start selling off things that I no longer play or just no longer have much interest in. And I managed to sell a bunch of older games of mine to a game store here in Boston called Replayed, and I used the store credit that I got to purchase a used PlayStation VR, which I also used to get I also bought a game called Superhot VR with the PSVR, and have been enjoying that. For those who don't know, the Superhot was originally not released as a VR game. The original game was just a first-person shooter, but the gimmick of Superhot is you're in a first-person shooter, and nothing moves until you do. So you have to find ways to kill enemies without them killing you first, while also navigating at this Matrix Neo speed. And Superhot VR takes this twist and adds the element of VR to it, which makes the game both very energetic and very it kind of adds a little more of a level of being complicated to it, just because now even your body's movements are registering as movements, whereas in the PC game you can just kind of put your hand off the mouse, and your guy will be still.
So it picks up like if you start moving around the room.
Yeah,
it's
so
the
so the PSVR tracks using a camera that you hook up on top of your TV. So it will track your movements as you're moving around. So that it adds kind of an extra level of difficulty to the game. Also, knowing that people are coming at you from all sides, and just kind of navigating how exactly you're going to coordinate, avoiding getting killed with also finishing off the enemies.
Yeah. That it sounds like you have to almost be stock still physically to be able to puzzle it out, where in the PC game you could just leave not touch the mouse. That's interesting. Yeah, I think I actually, thanks to another friend of the podcast, a guy by the name, we survived together, Ryan. He's moving to England, so he's shipping me his Vive because he doesn't want to take it with him. So I'm giving him an undisclosed amount of money, and he's giving me a Vive of undisclosed condition. So
yeah.
It works. So we're both getting into the VR world. Together,
pretty much at the same time. The PSVR, it's not the top of the line VR headset, but it's a good intro VR set. Especially if you can pick one up used. Again, mine, if I didn't have store credit, it would have been $150, which really isn't terrible. Compared to some of the other VR sets that are on the market.
I think a Steam Index will run you back $1,000. So
yes, one of my friends is putting in for a Steam Index, so I'm excited to get my hands on that when it arrives for him.
So he's just $5 discounted from his house.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So, Seth, what have you been playing?
So recently, I've actually gone back to play a game called Abduction, which is done by the Scion Worlds, which are the Myst people. Which we'll go into an episode and talk about Myst and Riven, which are adventure puzzle games, and. So I got it originally when it came out back in 2016, and it is actually a game that I will probably also play in VR when I get my headset, because it's also VR capable.
Oh, cool.
Specifically for the Vive. So
nice.
I'm kind of excited to play it in VR, and kind of understand what I need to do to get to the point where I am in the game currently. I did play it for a little bit. I kind of put it down on the ground, and then just recently got back into it because of the podcast, actually. We were talking about Firmament, and I thought about Abduction, and I was like, I haven't played Abduction in, forever. I should go back and play that game so that I could, finish it. I'm really big I'm a big proponent of Scion Worlds. I'm a big proponent of Rand Miller and his family, as it were, and that run the company. And I got back into it, and I got farther than I have been. I think I'm about halfway through the game, and it's probably about a 30-hour playtime. So it is probably the longest game that I've talked about playing. I think I've talked about recently playing short games. So Abduction is a longer form adventure puzzle game, first person perspective. The concept is that you've been abducted by aliens and have been transported to an alien world. The alien world that you're in looks like Arizona, and because you find out that they have some swapping technology where they can move sections of worlds and replace the section of world with the section of the other world kind of thing, and there's these different alien worlds that are all kind of linked together, and you're just trying to get home is kind of what your objective is.
Cool.
As kind of a basic kind of plot, as it were, in the game. It's fun, single player, beautiful graphics as always, because it's Scion Worlds, so they really specialize on really good looking games, with some kind of almost ethereal type of thought and puzzles.
Yeah.
You can get it on the PSVR.
So maybe I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, the PlayStation 4 version launched in 2017, and there was a patch that arrived shortly afterwards to support PlayStation VR. So
Very cool.
You can, if you want to have a cool world to walk in, a very alien type world, there's that.
Excellent. Well, I will keep an eye out for that.
Abduction. Yes, with
spelled,
an O and a B.
Yeah, I was going to say it was spelled abduction.
Yes, it's obduction.
Obduction.
After being abductioned. After being abducted, you're now abducted. I don't particularly. I'm not a grammar person, so
yeah. I have a friend.
I don't English well.
I have a friend who's really into cyan games as well, so I'll have to get their opinion.
There you go.
Well.
Maybe you can go like halvesies on it and play on your PSVR together.
Yeah.
So then let's get into so the Steam winter sale by the time of this release is over.
Yes,
it's actually. It has came and passed, and it's actually over by the time of this recording and release. It was a good sale. Did you end up buying anything on sale?
I bought one thing that was on sale. I bought. I'm opening up my library now to double check that it was the one thing I got.
Yes.
But yeah, I had a little money in my Steam wallet because I was selling some trading cards. I had about 30 cents, so I used my 30 cents of Steam wallet and an undisclosed amount of money to pay for Titanic Adventure Out of Time,
which is an amazing game.
Yes, a very memorable, nostalgic game for my brother and I.
Titanic Adventure Out of Time is a wonderful game about adventuring out of time on the Titanic.
Yes.
That is not a game that I would recommend. Back to our goal of this segment to recommend something to Justin to play on his his game that's not a gaming computer. Wouldn't recommend that game, but I mean it would run on an older computer for sure.
It would run perfectly, but
it may not be. I don't know if it's anyone's cup of tea, but
it was barely our cup of tea. We just owned it.
No, absolutely not. That game is my cup of tea. That is like I'm like the target audience for that game. Oh, do you want to be a British time traveler trying to solve the mysteries of the Titanic? Yeah, where you essentially stop not only World War I but World War II. Because you're on the Titanic.
Yes.
I got a Red Dead Redemption 2, and I got Noyata on my Steam sales. And actually, my buddy Dave bought me Monster Hunter World.
Oh, cool.
And so it was. So there was a few games. They were all on sale. So it was.
Yes, I mean, why not?
It was great. Yeah. Actually, it was funny. So I actually David bought me Red Dead Redemption 2, and I bought David Red Dead Redemption 2. So
you essentially
we
bought
traded
yourselves.
each other.
Yeah.
Which is why I said I bought it, even though I didn't buy it for myself. But that's kind of minutia stuff. But Noita, Noita, is a game that I did recommend to Justin. Only for the fact that it was on sale at the time. It was pretty cheap.
Fair enough.
So I paid. So the MSRP of the game is $18. It's also an early access game, and I paid $10. So I thought that was a pretty good deal. It was on sale, and then I had a $5 code, so I kind of explained to him that. It's a roguelite world, a roguelite game that's a magical action type where every pixel is able to be interacted with.
Oh, very cool.
So you can like melt wood or blow up the cave that you're in. Based on what I've been playing of it, so since it's roguelike, it changes the world as you load in.
Right.
And I also it doesn't. So you kind of play until you die. You can save, but then when you die, it kind of resets everything.
Okay.
and it's cool. I like it. It's fun. I definitely have to be kind of in like a platformy mood to play it, and it's definitely something I would recommend if you wanted like a lighter game. It's cool. It's still in early access. Maybe wait a little bit for it to get a little more updates, but it does have an overwhelmingly positive review.
Oh,
so it's always
that is
good.
always
Out of 9,000 reviews.
Yeah, that's good.
So that's actually to kind of go back to shopping on specifically Steam. The reviews are definitely something that at least I pay attention to. It's something kind of like buying on Amazon. I always kind of look at how many reviews are there on the game and how is it trending. And there's a few different tiers. So there's like positive, mostly positive, and then I think overwhelmingly positive. And so then like if it's positive but it's got 10 reviews, it's probably pretty new of a game. But if it's like overwhelmingly positive and it's got 9,000 reviews, it was released 4 or 5 months ago, it's probably a kind of a viral sensation.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I do pretty much the same. When I do buy PC games and they're on sale, I try to look for games that I usually judge my purchase off of the overall reviews, just to not necessarily base it entirely on that, because I've definitely played games that had kind of mediocre reviews and have enjoyed them, but every now and then I usually try to keep with the kind of overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah. I have a lot of weirder interests, I guess. I say, like I like to play like the more adventure games that are not typically played,
right,
or like more niche games like Adventure Out of Time or Yoda Stories.
Yes.
Since I like to play those type of games, I tend to take great like reviews in account. I tend to read a couple of them, the critical ones, and try to get kind of like an idea. I don't necessarily, just because it's overwhelmingly positive, it doesn't mean that's a game for me.
Right.
Something that I did mention to Justin in his email, and that I think that our listeners could also get this as advice. So if you use Steam as a platform, they do have a 2-hour, 2-week window. So that what that means is that if you buy a game and you don't really like it, and you have less than 2 hours played, and you've owned it for less than 2 weeks, so you have to be in that window, which you can be in it pretty quick if you boot up a game and play it in an hour and you don't like it. You can return it, no questions asked, and you get your money back. And you could take it back on the method of payment, or you can take it back on a Steam wallet. So I always recommend keeping that option in your mind. It's nothing against whoever developed the game, but sometimes games they just don't mesh well with you, or you just don't like them, or they're not developed well, like they're not finished development. So you can just be like, oh, this game is not as far as what the pitchers thought they were, and you can return it. And it's stuff like that you should keep in mind when shopping on Steam, kind of thing.
I agree with that. I mean, sometimes you'll see overwhelmingly positive reviews and such, but if the game just doesn't jive with you, that it just doesn't jive. It doesn't mean it's a bad game. It just might not be your game.
Right. I mean, there could also be just bad games out there. And well, we can once again, we have a worst games ever podcast.
Yes.
Episode coming out eventually. So then the other game that I recommended to him, we have some additional recommendations for you, Justin, as I'm sure that you are listening. The other game that I recommended to him in that email was Stardew Valley.
Yes.
Stardew Valley is... I just talked about Noyota. You want to go into Stardew Valley, Zach?
So Stardew Valley is... it's kind of along the lines of classic games like Harvest Moon, in the sense that you are tasked with tending a farm, and that's pretty much the game. So Stardew Valley plays kind of along the lines of like an RPG, but instead of fighting monsters, you do fight some monsters, but instead of primarily focusing on fighting monsters, you are tilling a field, you are planting your plants, you are watering them, you are spending money on upgrading your farm equipment so you can make this process easier. You're romancing people in town. You're kind of discovering secrets about the town. It's an overall
adventuring in the mines.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, you can go adventuring in the mines and fighting. You fight monsters down there, yep. And you'll collect gold and stuff. So it's kind of a jack of all trades style game in the sense that you really can play it in many different ways.
Yes.
I mean, it's encouraged that you do a lot of exploring and, you know, fighting monsters, but I mean, you really don't have to. I mean,
you don't. You could find there's some crops that do better and than others, and you can actually just be completely dedicated to farming and talking to villagers if you really want to. I think Stardew Valley is such it can be one of those time sinky games.
Oh yes, 100%.
So the game doesn't save until the end of each day. So you get into that like one more day type moment when you're playing the game. So then you're like, oh, I could do one more day. I just need to wake up. I need to tend to my crops a little bit, maybe get another level in the mine, and then I'll save and I'll go to bed.
Yeah.
And then you're like, I could do one more day. I just want to make sure it's raining tomorrow, so I'll have more mine time. So then, and then it goes on, and you're just one more day in yourself until you're passing out. It could be a very time sinky game.
Oh, 100%.
It did also introduce CoOp.
Yes.
So you can
which has been very fun. I've played co-op a few times with some of my friends, and it is it's a blast. I mean, it just changes kind of the dynamic of the game where, you know, your friend can focus on getting some chores and stuff done around the house, and you can go focus on fighting the monsters and collecting items that way. It's really kind of it allows you to kind of divvy up tasks and make your farm as effective as possible.
Right. Yeah. My fiance actually really liked fishing in the game.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
She would go fish, and I would go do like the plot needed stuff, like to go into the mines or work on our farm.
Yeah.
So there's that. Stardew Valley, great game. During the sale, I think it was 40% off. So I keep an eye out for the sale. And generally, like my rule of thumb is that I don't believe that if there's a game that I really want, I'll pretty much pay any price for it. If it's a game that I'm interested in, I put it on my wish list. Steam will send you a message in an email and on the app to tell you if something is on sale on your wish list.
Yes.
So if you build up a decent amount of games on your wish list, you can kind of just wait until it's on sale, and they generally cycle through the same type of sales. So if there's a game that you really don't want to pay more than a couple bucks for, just wait. Like
it'll be on sale.
It'll be on sale eventually. For newer games, you're probably not going to see anything deeper than 10 or 20%. But for older games, you may see upwards of 90. So
yes, yeah.
They definitely change. So another game that I recommend for like an older game, or actually for an older computer, or actually your phone. I know we're classic gamers, but there are still some benefits to playing on your phone. Is a game called Beat Cop.
Beat Cop.
Beat Cop. So Beat Cop is about you play as a cop, and you're on a beat, like a neighborhood.
All right.
And it's like a kind of like 8-bit graphics, and you have to go and accomplish cop tasks, like police officer tasks, while also like trying to uncover the story. So like the first day you have to like write up people who park in no parking zones on the street.
Okay.
And so you have to walk around writing them tickets. And you can write them tickets. You could ignore them. You could, when they come out and confront you, you can take bribes. You could just let them go, or you can continue writing them a ticket. And you can be kind of as corrupt or as like straight edge as you want in the game. And then there's like the mafia and there's gangs and stuff like that, and you have to kind of interact with them and either help them or fight them as a police officer. And it's generally known that the police force in this particular game, it's like 80s themed, so it's like an 80s theme corrupt police department.
Yeah.
Very fun. It's available on Android, I think probably on the iPhone. I'm not an iPhone. I don't have an iPhone, so I don't know what's on the iPhone, but I am an Android user personally, but so it's definitely on the Google Play Store. It's also on Steam, and I think it's also on Good Old Games. They definitely, it's kind of a lighter, almost like a RPG type game.
Kind of going along the 80s vibe, another game that I think I would recommend is Broforce, which is a Devolver Digital game, the people who brought us Hotline Miami 1 and 2, which are also very good games.
They are fun.
Yeah, pretty much actually all of Devolver Digital games I would recommend. They are usually fairly inexpensive, and they also kind of strive on being pixel graphics and stuff like that, so most of the time they will run on low-end computers. But Broforce in particular is a really fun one. It's also one that you definitely don't have to take seriously. You play as a selection of different bros. All of them are themed on famous 1980s characters or pop culture figures. So for example, you have like the Terminate Bro or the Ram Bro instead of Rambo, and each one has their own set of abilities, and pretty much all you're doing is you're just storming into enemy bases a la Rambo and killing bad guys and getting to the end of the level.
Oh, I'll have to look that game up because I actually thought it was an entirely different game.
Oh yeah,
I thought you were flying around fighting each other.
No.
Is that that's Brawlhalla, maybe?
That is Brawlhalla. Yeah.
Brawlhalla. Oh.
Which is also a good game, but
Broforce
not
is Broforce.
Broforce it's very fast paced. It could be almost considered almost like a puzzle game because it's about getting to the end quickly and without dying. So you do have to somewhat solve some puzzly elements. And it's all tongue in cheek. It definitely doesn't take itself seriously.
Another game that I actually just kind of thought of. We did draft up some notes, but I just thought of this game. Is a game called Dev Tycoon.
Yes. That's a great one.
It's available on PC, also available on your Android. And the Game Dev Tycoon is great for you're essentially running a video game studio, and you have to start a game. You have to start the studio, and you have to create a game, and you start off with like text adventure games, and as you develop and time goes on, you earn money, you develop better and better and different types of games and so you have to research genres, you have to research different type of platforms, you have to research making consoles, and you have to still try to keep your budget, so you have to hire and fire and labor and worry about your labor and all of that, so in order to make a profitable company. So there's definitely Game Dev Tycoon is a game that I recommend, also on your Android and all of that. And
the one thing I know about Game Dev Tycoon is that apparently if you bootleg the game, which you definitely shouldn't do, purchase the game. It's a great game. But apparently if the game is bootlegged, it will detect it's a bootleg, and your company will suffer sales, because you will lose out sales to people bootlegging your games in the game. So that's a fun little thing that they threw in there for people who illegally download the game. That's a one little fun fact I learned about it. But yeah, I also another game that I recommend to Justin that is usually pretty inexpensive. I think it's about $10, and it will definitely run on an older computer, or not older computer, but a lower end computer, is Undertale, which is an RPG game from actually a Massachusetts local named Toby Fox, who was inspired by games like Earthbound and some other JRPGs. And it's a really nice, very kind of gentle RPG at times. You can actually play the whole thing without killing any character in the game. It's called a pacifist run, or you can kill every character in the game, which is a genocide run. So there's definitely different ways to play the game that caters to different gameplay styles. And it has kind of a unique battle system where when you're fighting the enemy, it's not necessarily like you're playing an RPG where you're picking attacks and such, but you're kind of doing this puzzle while dodging items, and the better you are at dodging them, the better your attack is, or your pacifism is.
Yeah, it's actually a really it's one of those games that I feel like there are people who really like it. Like there are like some people who are really into Undertale.
Yeah,
it's got a cult following almost.
Yeah, it has actually a really strong following that's very similar to a webcomic series called Homestuck, I've noticed. And that definitely isn't without coincidence. Toby Fox did do work on the Homestuck comic series for a while. He actually did some music for it. So there's definitely, I think, some of the Homestuck fandom kind of bled into Undertale for a bit.
Yeah, I could see that.
But it is a game that is very low intensity on your computer. So lower end computers, it should run perfect.
So there's that. Now to kind of go, I guess, almost backwards. So we talked about a few games that you can buy. Specifically, Justin, you can buy if you can try them out. Let us know what you think of them on our recommendations. Let's go back to how you get video games. So Zachary put out some notes. It's funny, he actually drafted up notes when I went to put up my own notes in, and I saw that he actually we like share a doc, and I was like, oh hey, there's actually notes in here already. That's good. There's different. I actually don't go to stores anymore, so I do not actually go through. I get everything digitally. I use a couple of different platforms to download. They're just different softwares. So I use primarily Steam, which was done by Valve Company, which we've mentioned a lot. That's my primary kind of bread and butter type of store. Then there's GOG, which is Good Old Games. They're great. They've got a lot of classic games. The problem with some older classic games is not that your computer is old enough to run it. It's that sometimes the games require technology that just doesn't exist in modern systems.
Yeah, it's true.
Like expanded memory or extended memory. Like computers don't really use expanded or extended memory. And some video games require it, so then they look for it, and then it's not there because newer computers don't really use it, and then the game doesn't work.
Yeah.
But GOG actually makes it so that they kind of emulate and may fake extended memory or expanded memory so that the game sees it's there and then they can run. And GOG kind of tweaks the DOS box, which we've talked about on this podcast before, tweaks it so that the game runs pretty fluently.
Yeah, it does a lot of things with DOSBox. It also, some of the games they have on there are what are called source ports, where they've tried to emulate the game as best as they can using modern source engines, such as using like C# or C++, to replicate the game. I think that's what they did with. With Warcraft 2. Actually, I think they pretty much did a source port of the game, so it's not running through DOSBox.
Interesting.
I'm fairly certain. I might be wrong.
Yeah.
Also, GOG is run by CD Projekt, which I didn't realize. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't know that, GOG? Yeah. CD Projekt owns GOG. CD Projekt also is behind things such as The Witcher.
Yes.
And all of The Witcher, including the television show, which is very popular right now. Well, the show's very good, and the game's really good. Witcher, actually, I read an article. It stated that it now has concurrently more players than it had at launch.
Wow.
Witcher 3, at least. So there's more people playing Witcher 3 now than they did when it launched. So that shows you the popularity of the show. And also Cyberpunk 2077. They're a really, so they are Swedish?
Yes, I believe so. They're Polish, actually.
Polish. So they're a Polish development house. They're also a publisher. They also own a distribution site, so they're a distributor, and they are very nice and privately held. And they're kind of like the Polish Steam.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, besides, so I also use some online services, Steam, GOG. I use the PlayStation Network because I have PlayStation 4. But I also make use of other ways of buying games, mostly because I do play some console games still. For example, there is, like I mentioned earlier, there is a local shop near me called Replayed. It's located in Boston, Massachusetts, and I go by there every few weekends or so. Sometimes I sell stuff, sometimes I'm buying stuff, but they're catered to classic and modern video games. So they have old NES games, they have Super NES games, Sega Genesis games, PlayStation games, but they also have some Xbox One and PS4 games as well. Not really any PC games, no classic PC games, but they do have a nice selection of some kind of obscure stuff for really good prices. They definitely don't kind of mess you around like other shops might do. Usually all their games are very fairly priced. I still stop in at GameStop every now and then. I work across the street from one, so I'm kind of obligated to, I feel. It's like I
don't know where that obligation comes from.
Well, someone's got to go inside, I guess.
Yes. They bought ThinkGeek.
Yes, they did. And I actually do like GameStop's current stock, at least. They have a lot of fun, kind of nerdy, thanks to ThinkGeek, a lot of nerdy toys and a lot of they stock
Funko Pops.
Yep, the Funko Pops. They have a lot of action figures. They carry the Star Wars like lightsabers and stuff like that. The really nice Force effect ones. That are,
yes, where like lights up incrementally.
Yes, exactly. And they actually. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, it's kind of like a Newberry Comics almost, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a Newberry Comics, but swap out the DVDs and comic books with inexpensive video games, because while their newer games will go for, the standard, retail price, but their used games are usually pretty good, pretty well priced. They also offer a lot of sales and deals where you can like buy one, get one, or buy two, get two. Which is useful for building a small collection of stuff if you are in the market for that.
But they don't. I don't think they sell PC games anymore.
They usually, if they do have PC games, it's a very small selection and usually in the back somewhere. The last time I was at a GameStop that sold PC games, I think they had one. I think it was a boxed copy of Axiom Verge, and that was it. Which is that's like a Metroid style game.
All right.
I also go to thrift stores and flea markets because I'm usually looking for crap anyway. Thrift stores can be hit or miss, but if you are in the market for PC games or PlayStation 1 games and you go to a thrift store, I recommend looking in the CD section, like where the music is. Sometimes thrift stores are smart. They'll put the games off to the side. But even when they do that, I've always discovered PlayStation games. I've discovered PC games kind of hidden in the selection of music. There's actually a Goodwill I go to, and they almost always have a copy of either Battlefield 1942 or the original Warcraft just sitting in their music section. And I've like
to mark the music section.
Yeah, I've like moved it around. Like I pulled it out and put it somewhere else so that other people can find it, and always like ends up back somewhere random in the music section. So
that's its home. That's where it lives.
It's just where it lives. And the same with flea markets. I mean, if you're in a flea market, I would avoid resellers, people who are like kind of catering to selling old retro video games. Stick to the like mom and pop little pop-ups at flea markets. Go through their CD collections, go through their video collections, their DVD collections. You're bound to find something. One of the flea markets I went to had a guy with bins and bins of DVDs for $1, and I found like all 4 of the Grand Theft Auto games for the PS2 in the bins.
Oh, nice.
So I already owned a few of them, so I didn't need to buy them, but that was $1 a piece for each one, which is great.
Yeah, it's a good price for at least those games. I think there are people that do go to flea markets that know the value of what they're selling
100%.
and will try to take advantage of people, or not necessarily, or try to get their full value of what they're trying to sell, because they know that you're maybe looking for a particular game. Maybe you are a collector like Zach is, or you're just somebody who remembers playing a game and wanted to pick up an old console. Do you have any hints for people? I know that there are some of our listeners who really like old like SNES or Sega, those type of consoles. Is there any hint or tricks on how to pick those things up?
Yeah, I mean the biggest trick I say is if you're going to a thrift store or a flea market looking for Sega Genesis, NES games, or anything like that, get there early. So if the flea market opens at 8, plan to arrive at 7:30 and wait outside until the gates open, because the moment you're in there, you have first dibs essentially, and you have the same amount of chance as someone who's going to buy a game for real cheap and resell it for a higher price as the next person. So I definitely recommend getting there when they open, getting there early, as early as possible is kind of the recommendation.
Wow. I wouldn't expect you to ever show up anywhere early in the morning.
Yeah, well, when it comes to video games, I have to be there early. So
Zach's there.
If I know there's a good deal, I'm there. Trust me.
Yes. All Pierces know if there's a good deal.
Yeah. Also, don't be afraid to barter. I mean, that's the kind of the fun of being at a flea market, is that most of the time the people there are looking to make some money. Most of the time they know that you're looking to get rid of some money, and you can meet each other both ways. You can get rid of a little less money for what they want and usually still get what you want. So definitely don't be afraid to barter.
Yeah, I think always having that knowledge of how much you think you want to pay for something, even with buying games digitally, I think knowing how much you want to pay for a game is a good idea to always have in your head.
Absolutely.
There's other like third-party vendors that you can go on digitally, like a company called Green Man Gaming, where you can sometimes find games, or Humble Bundle. You can buy games. Humble Bundle generally runs like a constant 10% off their whole library if you're a subscriber. So there's always ways to like save a buck and to pay the amount of money that you want to pay for buying a game.
Yeah, I definitely never feel, if you feel like you've settled, it's never a good feeling. So never feel like you have to settle for something, and always know that there's probably a better deal out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think with that, I think we've kind of exhausted at least our finishing answering Justin's email, as it were.
Yes, I think so too.
Talking about shopping. So let's finish up with our buy, wait, pass segment so we can wrap everything up here.
Yeah. Would you like to go first?
Sure. There's actually a game that I'm interested in having, that I saw coming out, that I'm interested in, has a demo that you can play. It's actually a lighter game. It's got pixel art. So Justin, maybe you want to try this game for free. It's a game called Backbone, and it's a noir-inspired detective adventure where you play as a raccoon private eye.
Oh, cool.
Named Howard Loiter. And you have to sniff out clues and interrogate witnesses and explore the pixel art version of Vancouver, British Columbia, which is an interesting town to set it in. And playing as a raccoon is funny because you're trying to treated by the other people. They're all animals in the city, and you're kind of treated kind of like you're like a garbage animal because you're a raccoon. So
Yeah.
it's like, and the guy who he lives in kind of like a sloppy apartment. And
Right.
he has to clean up when clients come over, and he wears a trench coat, and it's a fun game. It's got a pretty interesting story. They have the prologue available, so you can kind of get your taste into it and try it for free. It's got some simpler puzzles and kind of a interesting story that I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. I put it on my it's coming out in sometime in 2020. I put it on my wish list, so they'll send me an email when it comes out. And then depends on how much money it is for. I feel like it's a solid $15 game, maybe 20. Keeping value in our mind, I don't think I would pay more than $15 unless I don't see it being more than 15 or $20.
Yeah.
And that's probably how much I would pay for it. And so then I would wait if it's more than that. So I'll put it in my wait category, and we'll wait and see, as it were. But Backbone, the prologue is free, and so try it out.
I'll take a look out for that one. I think the game that I was interested in is probably not going to run on a low end computer. I'm sorry to say, Justin, but it is Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is due out sometime this year. I believe it has a release date, but I am not going to check that right now. I think it's in a couple months though. And that is it's a full remake of the classic Final Fantasy VII game for the PS1. And this will be out for PS4, PC, Xbox One, and it looks great. It's being built on, I believe it's on the Final Fantasy 15 engine, which is a really beautiful engine. And they've updated the gameplay a bit too, so it's not so much a kind of classic JRPG style of kind of wait your turn sort of gameplay, turn-based gameplay, but it's more of an action role-playing game now where the action's in real time. And from the gameplay trailers, from the different cinematic trailers and such, it looks like it's going to be really fun, and I'm excited to see how they redesign this world. I will probably still wait on it a bit. While I'm a fan of Final Fantasy, I'm not super big. Like I wouldn't call myself like a mega fan, so I can definitely hold off and wait until the game goes on sale.
It's Final Fantasy. It's VII. We have a friend of the podcast, Josh, actually said he liked how we referred to Desperados as Desperados III.
Oh yeah, so it's Final Fantasy VII.
VII. And you can actually for $12 play Final Fantasy VII now on PC.
The classic,
in the original classic port of the PlayStation version.
Which, Justin, that should work on your computer.
Which that should work. So there you go. So you can either get wait until the new one comes out, or if you really want to play Final Fantasy VII. I actually personally haven't gone through all the way of Final Fantasy VII. I did play 6. I didn't play. Maybe I'll play the new Final Fantasy VII when it comes out.
Yeah.
So beyond that, I think that's it for today's episode.
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
Wrap it up.
Wrap it up.
Say. We are available on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Our Instagram and our Facebook and Instagram are at ClassicGamingBrothers, all one word, and our Twitter is CG Brothers Pod, all one word. We will tweet out and post on Facebook whenever there's new episodes. Occasionally we will post funny memes, I guess. We posted one. It was an Oregon Trail meme. It was funny. We did post something on our Instagram, which I'm very proud of. It took us a long time, but we got there. I'm glad you all sticked with us to get that post up on Instagram.
I am too.
And then, yeah, me too. Who knows when our next one will be? I feel a visual medium for an audio medium is weird, but that's just me. But yeah, so follow us on all the things, subscribe, make sure you click the notifier bell or whatever there is on Facebook or something so that you can see our updates. And then also you can send us feedback. Once again, for our giveaway, we would like an email and stuff like that. So you can send that to ClassicGamingBrothers@gmail.com.
Yes.
And
also,
with
if
that,
if you have an Alexa product,
yes,
you should be able to say, Alexa, play Classic Gaming Brothers, and according to you, Seth, it will play.
It will. I
haven't tried it out my Echo, so I'll have to give it a shot when we're done recording.
You should, and then just ruin all of our stats. But
yes, exactly.
So anyway, just remember, don't play games like my brother.
And don't play games like my brother.
I've been Seth.
And I've been Zach.
And that's it. Have a great day.
That's all she wrote.
That's all she just put the things, make the movies. The movies happen.